Hey, yo, what's up, YouTube, man? It's your boy, Ashton Jackson, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Dallas Cowboys post-draft roster and how they can still improve this roster to make it look a little bit better heading into the season and potentially the postseason. So before we hop into the video, I appreciate if you guys would like the video, subscribe if you're new, comment, and share my video with anyone who you think will enjoy my content. Here we go. So as you guys already know, we had the draft a week ago, which is just crazy to say that it's already been a week since the draft has started, but I felt like going into the draft, the Dallas Cowboys had 7 needs, and they fixed that by trading back, and they fixed most of their needs, right? To me, they fixed their offensive line position, both at center and offensive tackle. Might be a little bit of a decrease from having gotten to Tyron Smith, but I think that with enough offseason reps from him and him working out with Duke Manyweather, what we just saw yesterday, I felt like that's going to help him a lot. And then you have Cooper Beebe, who I feel like is going to be a really great centerpiece to go to pair next to Zach Martin and Tyler Smith. I think that's going to be really great right there. You get Maris Linval at your linebacker spot. I think that's going to be really good as well. I think you getting a guy like Kellen Carson for your cornerback depth was really great. Getting a guy like Marshawn Nealon to have as your defensive end spot was really good to usher him into that DeMarcus Lawrence role once D-Law is gone. And then you had Ryan Flournoy, who was going to be your rotational wide receiver. Then you got Justin Rogers, defensive tackle from Auburn, who's going to come in, and he's definitely going to make the roster because how weak defensive tackle is. And then you get a guy like Nathan Thomas, who can push Josh Ball and Matt Waletzko out of the building or push them to be better players. So that was basically a summarization of your draft, So really, the Dallas Cowboys, in my opinion, still have positions that they need to fix, which are 5 of them. It's still going to be cornerback depth, wide receiver, running back, defensive tackle, and then linebacker depth is really what I'm kind of looking at right now. So I'm only going to be talking about who should the Dallas Cowboys should be eyeing in that are available right now in free agency. Not with trades. That'll possibly be another video who the Dallas Cowboys can possibly look at these same positions that I'm talking about. And then I can see if there's anybody available in those ranges that the Dallas Cowboys wouldn't mind giving up a day 3 pick for next year's draft class, because you're going to get a gang of compensatory picks next year. So first, I'm going to talk about running back, right? And in my opinion, there's 2 running backs I feel like that are worthy for the Dallas Cowboys to go out, spend a flyer on for a 1-year deal. Very minimal money. You don't have to put too much caps resource into them. They can just come in, and if they do really great in camp, bam, we have them on a roster spot, and they can do really well for us. And if they can add something to the running game, that'd be really well with our we-worked offensive line. So a running back I am wanting the Dallas Cowboys to pick up is Cam Akers. I understand that Cam Akers is hurt guy. He has been having, ever since the Rams won that Super Bowl in 2021, after that COVID year, Cam Akers has been really injury riddled a lot, and whether that was with Achilles injuries or ACL injuries, he has been torn both of those ligaments on his body. So, Dallas Cowboys are like that. Again, he was a former top 100 pick. He's a really good running back that's serviceable, and if you can have him be like that lightning sort of back to pair with Zeke, to have that with a guy like Rico or Deuce, I wouldn't mind bringing in a guy like Cam Akers. He's 24 years old. And you can bring him in on a very cheap vet minimum deal. Again, he's been dealing with a lot of injuries. He's 24 years old, so bringing him in doesn't hurt us at all. Also, the second running back I felt like the Dallas Cowboys should potentially bring in, or just bring in both guys, honestly, with Cam Akers and the second guy being Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt has been in the league for 6 years. He's been in the league since 2017. He had a really good start to his career with the Kansas City Chiefs, and then some unfortunate things happened. He got cut, went to the Browns, and had a little bit of a resurgence there. But he fell off last year. He didn't really have too many. He didn't really have good stats last year because, one, he was injured, and two, he was brought in very, very late into the process for the Cleveland Browns. So he had a little bit of a late start to the season. Having a guy like him who's 28 years old, been into the league for a little while, and he automatically knows how to run in between the tackles. He can catch out of the backfield. This is a really good, serviceable back. Again, I'm just looking for serviceable type of people. I'm not asking you to be a game changer. I'm not asking Kareem Hunt or Cam Akers to play like their prime years. I'm not asking Kareem Hunt to play like how he did in Kansas City. Neither am I asking Cam Akers to play like how he did in LA when he was healthy. So, serviceable guys on that front of the end. That front, I'm fine with running back if we look at, or if we pick up guys like Cam Akers or Kareem Hunt. Now, wide receiver, I am looking for a wide receiver 3 or a wide receiver 4. I understand that with wide receiver 3, the Dallas Cowboys are giving all of the Jalen's the opportunities. They're giving them opportunities to fail. So they're giving the guys like Jalen Marino, Cropper, who they spent a UDFA flyer on to pick up. They have Jalen Tolbert, who they spent a third round pick in 2022. I know that they're expecting a return on their investment. So I know that they're wanting to see what he can be. And also with Jalen Tolbert, and every single time last year that we got a big play through the air, it was mainly with or just clutch situations where we score touchdowns through the air. It was with Jalen Tolbert. Like when we scored the last touchdown versus Philadelphia to make it, I believe it was like 23-20 or 23-17. We had, Dak Prescott had skipped the pocket, rolled out to the right, hit Jalen Tolbert, bam, he was there, a touchdown. Against the Seattle Seahawks, and we were in that shootout, and Dak broke that sack, rolled out to his right again, and threw the ball on the rope to Jalen Tolbert. Jalen Tolbert was right there, caught it. He made a hell of a catch. Same thing just a few weeks later when we had to go play the Miami Dolphins in Miami on Christmas Eve. We went out there and there was a big time catch that we had to throw, and Dak Prescott, it was a guy to have it down, and I believe one of the guys either was a pass interference or a guy had jumped off sides, but we sent him down there on a streak. Dak Prescott threw it up, and there was Jalen Tolbert. He made a big catch. So those are just 3 plays in my mind that I remember from Jalen Tolbert making plays. And Jalen Tolbert also had a really good game against the Philadelphia Eagles. The first time he had a big play, streaking out to the middle of the field, getting open. It was a quarterback wide receiver scramble, and Jalen Tolbert got open again. So Jalen Tolbert is a very good wide receiver in my opinion. I think that he has a lot to work on, and if he just gains his confidence and just build off of that momentum that he had from last year, I think he can be a really stable wide receiver 3. But if he can't be that stable wide receiver 3, and I also got to mention Jalen Brooks as well, who was probably one of your most productive rookies from last year's draft class, which is crazy to say, but he was arguably one of your most productive wide receivers from that draft class. So again, if we can pick up anybody from free agency, I'm looking at a couple of guys realistically, right? If we can get a guy like Hunter Renfrow, who's 28 years old, got cut from the Las Vegas Raiders, and remember, not every single time, but now since post-draft, the Dallas Cowboys can pick up players and it won't hurt them towards their comp pick formula, which they value so much. So we can pick up a guy like Hunter Renfrow, sign him to a 1-year deal, a 2-year deal, and we'll be fine. Mostly anybody that we're signing post-draft, they're not going to be demanding a whole lot of money. So it's fine that we get a guy like Hunter Renfrow, pick him up. He's still getting paid by the Raiders because the Raiders paid him a decent contract, I believe, last year at the end of 2022-23 season. So getting a guy like Hunter Renfrow into this building, a really great wide receiver who can separate at a high enough level. He's going to be a really good receiver. He can play outside, but I see him mainly as your slot dude. If he can play that Cole Beasley role, I think we'll be fine. And Dak Prescott will love a guy that can consistently get open at that slot position. And again, if the Dallas Cowboys don't feel too confident in Jalen Tolbert, or if Jalen Tolbert doesn't impress or anything like that, pick up a guy like Hunter Renfrow. I think we'll be fine. And this was a guy I was wanting the Dallas Cowboys to trade for last year. And again, other than CD or if Cooks gets hurt, if one of those 2 guys are missing a game, missing a quarter or 2, I really don't like what this wide receiver group is looking like. So I think adding a guy like Hunter Renfrow, I'll be a little bit at ease, just a little bit, if we add a guy like Hunter Renfrow. Another guy I would like to pick up is Michael Thomas. I understand, call him slant boy, whatever you want. He's still a really good wide receiver. I think having him as a wide receiver 3, a wide receiver 4 will not hurt you at all. A receiver that can consistently get open. I know you're going to have to scheme him open. He's not necessarily a guy that he used to be in 2018, 2019, where he's just going to make the big plays and consistently get open. I think those days are behind him. But I think using what you can get a little bit out of Michael Thomas wouldn't hurt you, right? But if you don't want to go in that direction of getting a guy like Michael Thomas, Tyler Boyd, I wouldn't be mad at a Tyler Boyd. I wouldn't be mad at an Allen Robinson. Getting a guy like Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who's 6'4", can play the outside position or he can play the slot position, and that's a very speedy wide receiver that the Dallas Cowboys can use, and he has the size as well. So he's a guy that can get open, but the only thing bad about his game is his drops. That's pretty much it. Other than that, he's a really good wide receiver, but what's holding him back is that he doesn't can't catch the ball consistently, and also if you brought him in, this is a guy with experience. He's played in the big games. He's played in two of the biggest games in two Super Bowls back to back. He's a back to back champion. Some that Dallas Cowboys have haven't experienced for almost 30 years, and nobody on this roster has even experienced. So we need to bring that in and see what we can do about that. Getting a guy like Zay Jones, I wouldn't be mad at him at all. He's a speedster. He can get open. He knows how to play every single wide receiver position, outside, X, Y, Z. He can play it for you. And remember, this is a guy that gave you fits last year when you played him in that 22-23 season when your cornerbacks were all beat up. That's pretty much it on the wide receiver side. If we want to pick up just like a wide receiver 4 to feel more confident and roll with, if we're rolling with Jalen Tolbert as our 3, if we're getting another guy that can come in and be that wide receiver 4 or 5, I wouldn't be mad bringing back a guy like Randall Cobb, bringing in a Sterling Shepard. And that's pretty much it in terms of wide receiver who I'll be looking at if the Dallas Cowboys want to roll with Jalen Tolbert as wide receiver 3. Now, another position I'm looking at the Dallas Cowboys want to get more depth at the wide receiver spot. If I'm the Dallas Cowboys, I'm possibly looking to bring back a guy like Stephon Gilmore. He was a very solid receiver. Cornerback for you last year. He was a guy that when DaRon Bland was having troubles guarding the number one wide receivers in the league, you put Stephon Gilmore on there and you didn't hear their name for the rest of the night. So I remember when they did that versus the Los Angeles Chargers when Keenan Allen was in the game. I remember when we did that versus the Seattle Seahawks and DK Metcalf was torching everybody, DaRon Bland, everybody, and then we put Stephon Gilmore on him, and it was a problem. Same thing when we did that with A.J. Brown. We had Stephon Gilmore on A.J. Brown, and we didn't hear the rest from A.J. Brown for the rest of the game. So having a guy like that is going to be really great to have back on your football team. If we're having a pipe dream and we just want to bring in a name, I wouldn't mind bringing in a guy like Xavier Howard, depending on how much money he's asking for. But again, had an injury-riddled year last year, didn't play great at all last year. So bringing a guy like him back on, not back, but having him being a Texas native kid, bringing him in for the Dallas Cowboys wouldn't hurt you if you were Dallas. Bringing a guy like Patrick Peterson, I wouldn't be mad at all. Mike Zimmer's familiar with his game. I wouldn't be mad bringing him in. Cornerback, that's pretty much it because everybody else I'm looking at right now on Spotrac doesn't really intrigue me. If they want to bring in a guy like Akello Witherspoon and bring him in as your cornerback 4 or 5, I wouldn't be mad at you at all. But that's pretty much it. If you want to bring back in a guy who can potentially start, Xavier Howard, Stephon Gilmore, Patrick Peterson, those are guys that I'm looking at that the Dallas Cowboys want to bring in. I wouldn't be mad at all as well. A guy that can play defensive tackle for you / DN for me would be a Calais Campbell. He's a Mike Zimmer guy. I think, I know he is 37 years old, but this is definitely a veteran guy who can come in, bring that veteran leadership, can help you stop the run, can get to the passer at a decent rate. This is definitely a guy in Calais Campbell that I would love to bring in and just see what he got left in the tank and see if he can help you in that defensive line group because, again, we still need size and we just need defensive tackle help. He could play defensive tackle for you again. And don't forget, outside of Mozzie Smith and also Digizua, you don't have much defensive tackle depth that right now in the league. Or not in the league, but just on your roster as well. You don't have too much depth as well. So you need to be looking at that, again, for depth. If you're just looking for pass rushers, I wouldn't mind bringing in a guy like Carl Lawson, Yannick Ngakoue, who can sign for about a year deal. Jerry Hughes, 36 years old. He's a veteran. If you want to bring in a guy like Tyus Bowser, Bud Dupree, I wouldn't be mad if you're thinking about pass rushers. And then if you're looking at the defensive tackle spot, who is realistically available, I wouldn't mind bringing in a guy like Hassan Ridgeway. 29 years old. Then you can bring in a guy like Lawrence Guy from the New England Patriots. He's your one technique that can help you out. You have a guy like Linval Joseph who has connections and ties with Mike Zimmer, who can just play that zero technique, that one technique. He can help out with a guy like Mozzie Smith, still help him develop to be a better defensive tackle. So getting a guy like Linval Joseph, I know he's old and 35 years old. That's not really old to me, but old in terms of NFL. Having a guy like him wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be mad bringing him in. Ross Blacklock was a former top 100 pick from the Houston Texans, and I believe they traded that pick, or they got that pick back from the Cardinals to get from that DeAndre Hopkins trade. So getting a Ross Blacklock, I wouldn't mind bringing him in. Dallas Cowboys love those former top 100 picks, and if they can, still play, that'd be great as well. And then last but not least, another position I'm still looking at that Dallas Cowboys should be looking at right now is linebacker. Again, linebacker, I like what you got so far in terms of the young guys like Marius Luafau, who you brought in from the third round, DeMarvin Overshown third round, Eric Kendricks, who you scooped up in free agency. Still having a guy like Damone Clark, who you selected in the fifth round in 2022. So having a guy like him is really crucial as well. I know you brought in Damian Wilson, special teams, depth piece type of dude. Bringing him in is fine. But if you're the Dallas Cowboys, I'm looking at a guy like Blake Martinez, Quan Alexander, Shaq Leonard. If he's still able to play again, back with the Shaq Leonard thing. If Shaq Leonard is your linebacker 4, I'm not mad about that, right? I mean, who knows? He might be able to bring you something special teams wise, or if he's filling in spot duty at linebacker. If he's fine, I won't be mad at that. I won't be mad at that as well. And then when you're looking at outside linebacker, bringing in a guy like Anthony Barr, again, a guy who's used to Mike Zimmer, knows the Mike Zimmer system, was an all-pro and a Pro Bowler with him. So bringing him in, and again, having him be your linebacker 4 or 5, because, again, you don't want him, or any of the guys I just named, Shaq Leonard, Blake Martinez, you don't want any of those guys stunting the growth of a Marius Luafau or Marvin Overshown. You want those guys to flourish, and potentially you want both of those guys to be your starting linebackers for the foreseeable future. So if you're the Dallas Cowboys, bring a guy like Anthony Barr. Again, he's been in Dallas. We signed him in the 22-23 season, so he already knows what it is when he comes here. So that's about it for the video. Again, the 5 positions I'm looking for the Dallas Cowboys to potentially look post-draft is running back, wide receiver, linebacker, corner, defensive tackle, defensive end. So, again, running back wise, bringing a guy like Cam Akers, Kareem Hunt. Wide receiver, I'm fine with any of the guys that were listed that I did name. But again, just to go over, Hunter Renfrow, that's a guy that I want. But the Dallas Cowboys are fine with getting a guy like Zay Jones, who's 29 years old, bring him in on a 1-year deal. Allen Robinson, Michael Thomas, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. And if they want to roll with Tolbert as their wide receiver 3 for the foreseeable future, having a guy like Randall Cobb, Sterling Shepard as your wide receiver 4 or 5 is fine with me. Bringing in a guy like Calais Campbell, I would be happy with that. Bringing in a guy at defensive tackle like Hassan Ridgeway, bringing in a guy like Al Woods or Lawrence Guy, even a guy like Linval Joseph, I wouldn't be mad bringing in as zero techniques that can help out Mozzie Smith. If he's not ready, or if he is ready but he just isn't living up to his expectation, we have those guys as insurance pieces. Linebacker, Shaq Leonard, Quan Alexander, Anthony Barr. Those are some guys that I'm thinking about the Dallas Cowboys should bring in if available to you, and if the Dallas Cowboys are looking at them. And then cornerback, a dream scenario would be X Howard, but realistically, I would love the Dallas Cowboys to bring back Stephon Gilmore. That same age range, I wouldn't mind bringing in a guy like Patrick Peterson. Steven Nelson is nice as well. And that's pretty much it in terms of cornerback, because other than that, if you want to pick up a guy like Kilo Witherspoon, I wouldn't be mad. But other than that, the cornerback room doesn't wow you in terms of free agency. So that's about it for the video. Hope you guys have a nice day. Stay safe, stay blessed. Bye.